Welcome back, everyone. Get ready to dive into the world of maize. And, when I say dive, I mean really dive, like down to the seedling level.
Right, we're talking about the very beginning of a plant's life. And what most people don't realize is that those first few weeks, they're absolutely critical. A seedling success, it can make or break an entire harvest.
It's true. And the crazy thing is, assessing those seedlings, traditionally, it's been a very manual, very time-consuming process.
Yeah, picture this, someone walking through a field, notepad in hand, literally counting seedlings one by one.
Yeah.
Talk about tedious. And not only is it time-consuming, it's also pretty subjective.
Right. And let's face it, human error. It's a thing.
Exactly. So this is where technology steps in, right? We've got satellite imagery that's been a game changer in a lot of ways. But even that, it can lack the detail needed to truly assess those little seedlings.
And that's where this deep dive comes in. This research article, they took a different approach.
Drones.
Drones. They're everywhere these days, and for good reason.
Yeah.
In this case, they used a DJI Phantom 4 drone to capture, get this, high-resolution images of maize fields.
And not just a quick snapshot, they went all in.
Oh, yeah, they were thorough. Different growth stages, different weather conditions, cloudy, sunny, you name it. They wanted to see how this technology would perform under real-world conditions. No sugarcoating.
And this is where it gets really interesting, right? Because they didn't just use the drones for pretty pictures. They combined that drone imagery with AI.
You're getting it. And not just any AI. We're talking YOLO 8, which is a mouthful, but basically it's an object detection model that's really, really good at its job. Okay, so we've got drones taking pictures. We've got AI analyzing those pictures. But hold on, there's more, right? Because then they bring in Voronoi diagrams. Now, I'm going to be honest. Before I read this study, I had no idea what a Voronoi diagram was.
Most people don't. So think of it this way. Imagine each seedling is like a coffee shop, right? And the Voronoi diagram, it's like a map that divides the city into regions where each shop is the closest one to everyone in that region.
So it's all about proximity.
Exactly. It's like, okay, if you live in this part of town, this is your designated coffee shop because it's the closest. And by applying the same concept to maize fields, we can analyze how those seedlings are distributed.
We're talking spatial relationships.
That's the key. It's not just about identifying individual seedlings, but understanding how they relate to each other within the entire field. Are they evenly spaced? Are they too crowded? Those crucial factors that affect growth.
So we've got drones capturing images, AI identifying those tiny seedlings, and then this Voronoi mapping to analyze their distribution. It's like a technological trifecta for precision agriculture. But let's break it down a bit further. How does this AI, this YOLO 8, actually work? I mean, we're talking about teaching a machine to see, right?
It is wild when you think about it. It's like, how do you teach a computer to recognize a plant? Well, in simple terms, you feed it tons and tons of images in this case, pictures of maize seedlings in the AI. It starts to learn those patterns, those distinguishing features that make a seedling a seedling.
And it's not just about spotting them. It's about doing it accurately, even in real-world field conditions.
Yeah, you got it. Think about a field, right? It's not some perfectly lit studio. You've got shadows, you've got overlapping leaves, all sorts of things that can make it tricky to pick out those seedlings.
And this is where YOLO 8 really shines. The research paper mentioned they actually compared it to other models, YOLO 5 and faster RCNN. So did YOLO 8 really outperform the competition?
They found that YOLO 8 was able to cut through all that visual noise with, you're not going to believe this, over 95% accuracy. And that's huge.
That's incredibly precise, especially when you're talking about something as small and potentially hidden as a seedling.
I know, right? And that level of accuracy, it opens up a world of possibilities when it comes to analyzing those fields and making informed decisions about, well, pretty much every aspect of maize production.
Okay, so we've got a clear picture of each seedling, thanks to YOLO 8. But how do those Voronoi diagrams come into play to actually assess the quality of those seedlings?
All right, so this is where those spatial relationships we talked about, they become super important. The researchers, they use the Voronoi diagrams to calculate a few key indicators of seedling quality. One of them is called the Voronoi Polygon Uniformity Index. It's a mouthful, so most people just call it VPUI.
VPUI, got it. And what does that tell us?
It basically measures how evenly those seedlings are spaced out across the field.
So a field with nicely spaced seedlings where every seedling has a little breathing room, that would get a good VPUI score.
You got it. And that spacing, it's crucial because when seedlings are too close together, they have to compete for resources, sunlight, water, nutrients, and that competition, it can stunt their growth and impact the overall yield.
So it's like plants need their personal space, too.
Exactly. They need room to spread out, soak up those nutrients, and reach their full potential. And a higher VPUI, it generally indicates a healthier, more productive field. But VPUI, it's just one piece of the puzzle. They also looked at the missing seedling rate. That one's pretty self-explanatory. It tells you how many seeds didn't germinate, or maybe those seedlings just didn't make it. And this information, it's valuable for farmers because it can help them identify areas where they might need to replant.
It's about maximizing every inch of that field, making sure every seed has the best chance to thrive.
Exactly. And then the last thing they looked at was the repeated seedling rate. This one's all about those areas where maybe the planter dropped a few too many seeds too close together.
So we're talking about overcrowding from the get-go.
You got it. And those overcrowded areas, they can be problematic because, again, it goes back to competition. Too many seedlings in one spot, they're fighting for those limited resources, and that can lead to weaker plants and a lower yield overall.
So by analyzing these three indicators, VPUI, missing seedling rate, and repeated seedling rate, farmers get a much more comprehensive and data-driven understanding of their seedling quality. It's like taking the guesswork out of those crucial early stages.
Exactly. Instead of relying on just eyeballing it or those traditional methods, farmers can use these data points to make informed decisions about things like replanting, adjusting their irrigation, or even targeting specific areas with fertilizers.
It's all about optimizing those resources for the best possible outcome.
And here's the thing. They didn't just test this in a controlled lab setting. They wanted to see how this technology performed in the real world, with all its complexities and variables.
Okay, so they took this high-tech approach out into the field. How did it hold up? Did the Voronoi method live up to its potential?
It really did. In fact, they compared the Voronoi method to the traditional method of measuring plant spacing, just to see how they stacked up. And the results were, well, let's just say the Voronoi method came out on top.
Okay, I'm all ears. Give me the nitty-gritty. How much better did the Voronoi method perform?
We're talking night and day, really. When it came to estimating that repeated seedling rate, remember that's where we're looking at those areas where seedlings might be overcrowded. The Voronoi method achieved a remarkable R-squared accuracy of 0.94.
0.94. Wow, that's incredibly high. What was the accuracy for the traditional plant spacing method? Just for comparison.
Yeah, so the traditional method only managed to get to 0.4, which, it's something, but when you put it up against 0.94, it's clear which method is giving you a more accurate picture.
It's a no-brainer. The Voronoi method is the clear winner in terms of accuracy. But it wasn't just about proving the Voronoi method's accuracy, right? They were also looking for insights into seedling quality itself. What did they find out there?
Oh, they definitely uncovered some interesting stuff. Remember how I mentioned they captioned images at different stages of growth? Well, that turned out to be really insightful. They found that seedling quality, it's not a static thing, It actually changes throughout those first few weeks.
So taking a snapshot of the field on just one day wouldn't tell the whole story. It's more like a dynamic process, constantly evolving.
Exactly. And this technology, it's like having a front row seat to that entire process. Farmers can track those changes over time and get a much deeper understanding of how those seedlings are doing.
That kind of real-time insight, it seems invaluable, especially when it comes to making those critical decisions about how to manage the crops.
Oh, absolutely. Think about it. If you know exactly when and where seedlings start to struggle, you can intervene precisely when and where it's needed most.
It's all about precision and maximizing those yields. Now, we've talked a lot about maize, but this technology, it has to have implications beyond just one crop, right?
You're thinking ahead, and you're right. The researchers believe that this approach, this combination of drones, AI, and Voronoi diagrams, it could be applied to other row crops as well. We could be talking about soybeans, cotton. The possibilities are pretty exciting.
Wow, so this deep dive into maize has really opened up a whole new perspective on the future of farming. From those first seedlings to a potentially bountiful harvest, this technology could really revolutionize how we grew our food.
It's like giving farmers a superpower, right? The ability to see and understand their fields with a level of detail that was just unimaginable before. And the best part is, this is just the beginning.
Exactly. As this technology continues to develop and become even more sophisticated, who knows what other applications we'll find for it in agriculture and beyond.
It really makes you think if we can get this granular with analyzing a field of crops, what other complex systems in nature could we apply this to? The possibilities are truly endless.
Now that's something to ponder. That wraps up our deep dive for today. We've journeyed from the microscopic world of maize seedlings to the vast potential of precision agriculture. Until next time, Keep asking those insightful questions. Okay, so they took this high-tech approach out into the field. How did it hold up? Did the Voronoi method live up to its potential?
It really did, yeah. They took it out to the field and they compared it against the traditional methods for measuring plant spacing. And, well, the Voronoi method really outperformed them.
Okay, I gotta ask, how much better are we talking here? Give me the numbers.
So remember that repeated seedling rate? That's where the Voronoi method really shined. It achieved an R-squared accuracy of 0.94.
0.94? That's incredibly accurate. What was the accuracy for the old method?
Yeah, the traditional method had only got to about 0.4, so a huge difference.
Wow, that's a landslide victory for the Voronoi method. But this wasn't just about proving the method worked, right? I mean, the study was really about seedling quality. What kind of insights did this technology uncover?
They found out some really interesting things. Remember how we talked about them capturing those images at different stages of growth? That revealed that seedling quality, it's not a one-time thing. It actually changes a lot during those first few weeks.
So it's more like a dynamic process. Just taking a snapshot on one day wouldn't give you the full picture at all.
Exactly. It's like a movie, not just a photograph.
Yeah.
And this technology, it allows farmers to see that whole movie, those subtle changes in seedling quality over time.
And that's got to be so valuable for making those informed decisions throughout the growing season.
Absolutely, yeah. It's all about precision. If a farmer knows when and where seedlings are starting to struggle, they can target their resources much more effectively.
We're talking about potentially huge increases in efficiency and yield. Now, I know we've been laser focused on maize this whole time, but this technology, it's got to have applications beyond just one crop, right?
Absolutely. And the researchers actually touched on that in the paper. They believe this approach could be used for a wide variety of row crops, like soybeans, cotton, you name it.
So this deep dive into maize, it's really opened a window into the future of farming as a whole. From those tiny seedlings all the way to a potentially bountiful harvest, this technology could really be a game changer.
And it makes you think, if we can use these tools to analyze something as complex as a field of crops, what other applications are out there waiting to be discovered?
That's a great question, and it's one we'll have to keep exploring in future deep dives. But for now, that wraps up our look at this amazing new technology for assessing maize seedling quality. Until next time, keep those curious minds engaged, and we'll see you on our next deep dive.